Can you see this, Kathy? Can you see this? Okay. Well, Anna's coming in today. Okay. Good morning, Anna. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Hi there, Madeline.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, it's Madeline. Hi.
Hey. Be right back.
You know, it's so nice to be able to do things with this video stuff that we do. I do miss getting hugs and having a cup of coffee with y'all.
Me too.
We'll see. Hopefully we find a solution for that.
Well, I can hug you if I see you at Meyer again. I like this. This works good for me.
Right. It does save time. That's for sure. And you know, like when I had the meetings at the church, I would have to open up the church, put up the signs, put out coffee, I'd bring a snack. So I would have to get there at least an hour and unlock the doors. I'd have to get up there at least an hour before we're starting. So, and then get the screen and everything set up for the people that were going to be there, and try to get the slide to work on the Zoom. And that one computer works a lot easier.
Right. And I have my own snack, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
You know, you know, this is the season. We still will offer Zoom, you know, because it works, that we can expand our reach. You don't have to be, you know, in the 5 miles around the center, right?
Right.
We can reach people downriver like Etta. We can reach people, you know, if I was traveling somewhere, I could be, you know, available. So
Yep.
yeah, so it helps too. It saves on gas, that's for sure. With
Oh,
Good
really?
morning.
good morning, Etta. So let's see what time we have here.
My 22-year-old eight-cylinder truck, it really saves on gas.
Oh, so you don't use that little car anymore?
Well, it's needs repair of $1,200. So I have to take care of what I have to take care of before I don't have it right now.
Yeah, okay.
So
And that
I
was
just fixed the truck. So
yeah. Well, I know Tolan is not, he's got something that came up, so he's not going to be in today. So we're kind of waiting on Bridget. Etta, were you able to do some of the homework questions from the ethics book?
Yes, actually, I'm going to go over them and then get them to you. I wanted to tweet them a little bit, make sure they have everything.
What you wanted to say? Okay. Yeah, you can email a copy of that to me. So I'm going to start out today. We're a couple seconds before the hour. A friend of mine sent me some information about a trauma class that Cornerstone Baptist Church on 12 Mile in Roseville is having on March 16th. It is not going to be broadcast online. There might be a recording in the present. It's $25. It starts at 9 o'clock. It's on site. They provide a continental breakfast, and they'll break for lunch, which is your responsibility, and end at 3 o'clock. So if anybody's able to go, a man named Solomon, who is assistant professor and program coordinator of biblical counseling at Boyce College, is going to be speaking. So it does sound really good. And of course, you know, it does apply to our, you know, our ministry as chaplains, understanding trauma, and also from a God perspective. So that is March 16th in Roseville, Michigan, at Cornerstone Baptist Church. If anybody is interested, I can send them, I can get the that QR code to register, or you could contact that church if you're interested in attending. It's, you know, normally we would be having a class that day. So if anybody wants to attend it, it's, you know, definitely be a big chunk into the CEU class. Cindy, we're talking about at Cornerstone Baptist on 12 Mile in Roseville is having a trauma seminar on March 16th. They're bringing in professor in counseling and biblical, what is it? Biblical, gotta look for it here. And biblical, yeah, program coordinator of biblical counseling at Boyce College. So that would be a good thing.
Okay. What time does it start?
It starts at 9 o'clock. They have a continental breakfast. It's $25. It goes to 3 o'clock. They break for lunch. You have to provide your own lunch.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to start out today. If maybe Bridget and Etta want to talk about their homework questions. The first question in living a 24-karat gold life, I thought almost all these questions were really good to talk about for all of us. How might poor character limit college and professional athletes in their lives and careers? So I mean, Etta and Bridget can talk about what they've already written. But anybody else can also chime in here.
Can you repeat the question, Trish?
Sure. How might poor character... Hello, Bridget. How might poor...
How you doing, everybody?
I'm good. Glad to hear you today. How might poor character limit college and
my volume is low.
athletes in their careers?
Well, this is Etta. Well, athletes are part of a team, and they have to be able to work together. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Have to be able to work together as a team. You know, they have a set of rules for everyone to follow, and they depend on everyone following those rules. And someone breaking a rule or not going by what the coaches or, you know, people say can affect the whole team. The whole team could be sanctioned. Team members can have a certain way of feeling, you know, between that person that keeps breaking the rules. So in order to make sure that they work together and on the same page, everyone needs to follow, you know, the rules and go by, you know, what has been set up by those who are over the team, the coaches and so forth.
Right. People often resent it when there's exceptions to the rules and people get away with things, right?
Right.
we can see in professional sports that when an athlete has different domestic problems or drug problems, it affects their concentration. It affects the whole team. They don't perform as well.
Yeah. And also I remember it was in the news when this young man, he had all the potential to be a football player. And I think that you might remember, I can't remember the school where he jumped on a security guard and beat that security guard up. And the security guard had injuries, and he had the potential to go to play in the football league. However, that threw away all his scholarships, and no coaches wanted to, trust him because they figured he, had a problem with authority.
Right.
So he did eventually have one coach or one school that had a little faith in him and said that they would work with him. But he never got back to that status that he had, before he beat up the security.
So I think we can all agree that, or maybe you could give examples of how poor character would inhibit us as chaplains.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
We have to be trustworthy. We have information and resources at our disposal that we can misuse. Question number 2 says, have you ever known someone who stated one ethical position and lived something differently? How credible was that person? And how did that affect his or her life and work? A lot of questions there. I'm sure we've known people. It's kind of silly to say, have you ever known somebody? Because I think we all have known people who stated one thing and lived another thing, right? Just like the Pharisees. So in that instance, how did that affect that person's credibility to you?
Well, I can say that my background is in criminal justice, corrections, and there was a warden there. He was very, very strict on discipline, character. You had to, especially supervisors, because I was a supervisor there, so we were used to his very, very strict type of supervision. He expected us to behave and be an examples at a higher standard. And of course, being a supervisor there, we in turn, because I had people under me, expected. And so any one of us that did anything or didn't follow the rules, we got disciplined higher than let's say our subordinates. Well, a little bit after I retired, because we kind of held them as a higher standard and everything, and nobody ever thought. Someone called me and said, one of my lieutenants that was under me said that, hey, he had been Lansing had came up to the prison that I worked at and had walked him out. And so we said, well, what's going on? They walked the warden out of the prison. I mean, whoever heard of that?
Right.
So turns out that he had a new young secretary there, and it's inappropriate for his behavior to, so he did have inappropriate behavior. Someone turned him in, and of course Lansing frowned on that because he is not supposed to engage in that. And plus his wife was a department head too in the department. So it was embarrassing and stuff for her. I'm sorry. And so, you know, that was, I was kind of taken aback from that because I looked at him as being someone that had so much higher standard for us, but then find out that, you know, he had expelled himself from, you know, what we thought that, you know.
Yeah, and you know, there's a Bible verse that talks about smite the shepherd and the flock will flee, right? When we see a pastor or whatever that falls into disgrace, it often affects congregants, right?
Yeah.
This is an interesting question from the homework. Which is more difficult for you, making an ethical decision alone where no one will find out, or making it when with other people are pressuring you to conform to a lower standard?
Well, are you asking any of us or whatever?
Yeah, anybody that wants to. I mean, both you and Etta have answered these questions, so it would be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, appropriate for you to share your answers.
Yeah. What I have for that one, yes, that's for it would probably be difficult for me to ask. I mean, to do it with someone that's pressuring me to make a decision to lower, because it would probably, you know, affect me because I'm not used to doing a certain thing with someone that's pressuring me to do the way they want me to do it. And it would lower my standards and my character, especially if I'm not in the same predicament that you are in, and that you are initiating me to do something that you want me to do. So it would pull me out of my way of living and my way of doing things. You know, it depends on how the situation is going that they have you doing, you know, doing in a certain area. You know, if you wanted me to come down and say this didn't happen, but it did happen. You know, or being dishonesty about something, say, well, look, I need you to say you didn't see it. And I'm, you know, I'm saying, what? You know, why do you want me to say, for example, it happened at a facility I was working in, and he wanted me. He was working on the same unit, but they had a certain amount of time, a certain amount of the day that they delivered the trays or whatever. So he liked it a certain type of dessert to be on his tray, and I think he was kind of like his vision wasn't going yet, but it was kind of blurry, so it was kind of losing it. So he was like, well, he's not going to have this because, you know, it makes him so hyper, and they do something called sundowning at a certain time of the day because they had, you know, dementia or whatever. So at a certain time of the day, everybody just goes bananas at the same time. So he's like, well, he's not going to have that cookie because if he have that cookie, he's going to go crazy, you know, around this time because sundown, they all do it at a certain time of the day in the evening time. So he's telling me, you know, I got the cookies. I'm like, where's Mr. Blah, blah, blah's cookie yet? Because he's going to be looking for it. And he's like, well, no, just, you know, don't even worry about it. I got the cookie. He's not going to get the cookie. So you just tell him that the cookie wasn't there. And I'm looking like, why would he do that? You know, I don't want to be a part of that. Why would you take his cookie and knowing that's going to cause him to go more bananas?
Right.
That is not on there because he has dementia. He's going to remember, he's going to come sometime of the day or some hour that the cookie wasn't there. But you want me to partake in that you got the cookie, and you want me to tell Mr. Blah, 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 that the cookie didn't come, but it did come on his tray. So you're pulling me in, so that's like partaking in another man's sin, but you're trying to tell me to don't tell him. I felt some type of way about that because I'm like, that's wrong. You know, how would you feel if that was your mother, father, if that was you? And he's looking forward to that because the cookie makes him go bananas when, you know, he eat it and he go crazy at a certain time of the day. He's sundowning, but that's like a child, you know, you don't want to give him too much sugar because it's going to make him hyper or whatever. Right. But the thing was to be honest to him and tell him, you know what, I think you should eat half of the cookie, or, you know, maybe not eat the whole thing, but not take the man whole cookie off his tray and then tell me. If he asks you, tell him he just didn't get it. So that would make me feel some type of way because that's not the type of person I am. And to force me into that, you know, type of a situation, it, you know, it was really hard. You know, it's hard when somebody pulls you into a situation like that.
Right. Yeah, I think you know, we want to do the right thing, but sometimes people make it very difficult. So that's one reason accountability is important to us, that we have different levels of accountability implemented into our structure. For example, in a certain respect, there's the oversight of ICT to help us have a standard, someone looking out and saying, or like a friend, right? That's saying, you know, this isn't quite right. You're not quite doing this the way God would really want you to. So what kind of levels of accountability do you have in your life and ministries, and how has that been helpful?
Is that for me or someone else?
It's for, first of all, Etta and Bridget, but anybody can answer as well.
Oh, okay. Well, there was a time when there was like a, how can I put this? Excuse me. It was like a situation where there was a get together, and it was like a dinner party, like a dinner birthday party, whatever. So it was one of my sisterhood, she had it, and she said, well, I don't know, they're gonna probably feel uncomfortable because, you know, you're in ministry and you're a leader, you're a minister, so they're gonna feel uncomfortable, and they want to you know, have drinks or whatever like that. And so I don't know if I can invite you, you should come. So I said, what in the world is going on? I said, well, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, I don't want to make anybody feel out of place because you guys are gonna be serving champagne at your dinner party. And so okay. And so I don't want to put you in a situation where you're gonna have to not invite me or have, you know, let people invite you. She said, well, I do need you to come because I wanted you to prayer over the dinner. I wanted you, because I got you on the program. And so I said, okay, well, now she wants me to pray and over the dinner. But someone had come. She said, well, are you gonna pray and then you're gonna stay for a little while? So I didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. But at the time, there was some other stuff going on the outside, and I did have to step in, and because they asked me, "Is it okay? You know, do you think I should do this?" And I had to take, you know, charge and say, you know what, I got to tell her, even though it's a dinner party going on, I got to tell her that's not appropriate for you to stand outside and smoke the marijuana, you know, outside of her dinner party. And she said, oh my God, I forgot that you was a minister and this and that. But even in the, you know, the fact that's disrespectful to the other guests that are coming in. And she asked me, so for me to, if I would have said, oh, it's okay, that's fine, it's her dinner party, you can smoke that and turn it up like this. So I had to be honest to her and let her know that, you know, that is very inappropriate. It's not, you know, respectful of you to do that, you know, right out here in the parking lot. You know, if that's something that you want to do. I can't judge you for what you do, but to bring it here at her dinner party, knowing that her guests are coming in, she said, yes, other people that are coming in that she had invited, and not because I'm in ministry, I had to, you know, bring that to her attention, you know, but had I walked away and she asked me, oh, that's okay, go ahead. You know, that's fine, it's okay, it's her birthday party, instead of blah, 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 blah. So a lot of people, you know, they don't want to deal with it, but you have to, you know, it's the thing, be ready in and out of season. You know, you never know when you have to minister to someone and let them know that, no, that's not right. And you should be, you know, told that in a nice, manageable, and respectable way. So in that position, I had to take accountability to let her know that you are, you know, disrespectful right now, and that's not appropriate for this, you know, type of, you know, time and place for where you are doing it at. You know, maybe you should have did it at home, or, you know, in your car on the way, you know, whatever. But that wasn't the right way to do that. And she said, I appreciate you for telling me that, you know, because I feel better, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I thank God that, you know, that you were here to tell me that. So that was the time I had to do that.
Now, we can't assume that everybody knows what's correct and appropriate behavior in these days anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So is it helpful to you to have somebody to kind of that you can rely on to say this isn't quite appropriate? How does that help you?
Well,
Is that for anyone? Is that for anyone? Are you?
That's for anyone. It's all for anyone.
Okay. Well, I was, you know, as you were asking that question, and is it Bridget that was just giving that one answer?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know, living alone and not really having anybody that I have to be accountable, like where I live. I have a very, very close friend who moved to another state, and she's also a Christian. We've known each other for, gosh, 40 years, and we have, through the years, made like an agreement to be accountable to one another. If there's something that maybe is in one's life, or if something is, you know, we always check each other, and I find it it's very helpful, and it keeps me aware and honest. And I think those things are so important, especially now being, you know, having that title chaplain, to wear that title, where always knowing that we need to be, God's watching us, and first and foremost to be accountable to him, because he knows it all, sees it all, and knows what we're going to do and say. And so for me, I have really I'm in a season of really understanding that accountability and that honesty, true honesty, and really, you know, trying to come to be the person that God wants me to be. And sometimes it's hard, but it's very, it helps me to have, and I have a couple other people that are very close. I have to trust those people enough to be able to be accountable to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a two-way thing, and it's also an iron sharpening iron kind of thing with me too. So that accountability for me is that's where I'm at right now with that.
Anybody else want to add something to that?
Yeah, that's pretty much what Trish, is it Miss Trish that just said that. I agree with her that I want, you know, I want what God's will is for my life, and that is to do better, and to always strive to to be all that I could be and to improve and to affect someone's life. And if I could do that and to sow, win, and to sow.
Okay, I agree. I think it's important for us to place ourselves in groups or situations where we can be challenged to be a better us. We have, you know, here in our discussions, we can help each other raise up to a higher level. In our churches, that God speaks to us through the minister and the people around us. And I was just reading this morning in Ecclesiastes about two walking together, right? If one falls, the other is there to lift us up. And I think I find it's easier when I'm wavering, when somebody's standing beside me to help me keep that quality decision to do what's right, even when it's difficult or when I'm weak.
Yes.
So that's why hopefully we can challenge one another to grow in our character.
Amen.
Okay. So we're gonna talk today about a little bit about differences in culture and tolerance. UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization, you know, people think that these groups are good, and they do good things, but they're actually very humanistic in their outlook. And they talk about, we're going to go back to this, some different aspects of culture and living together. And they talk about culture being at the heart of our debate about identity and belonging to society. But I want to point out to this last thing that's in this snippet from their declaration, the articles that they declared in 2001. It talks about respect for diversity of cultures, tolerance, dialogue, and cooperation in a climate of mutual trust and understanding are among the best guarantees of international peace and security. And I want you guys to tell me, do you think that that's actual, or is that like a pipe dream there? Is respect for the diversity of cultures and tolerance and cooperation and dialogue, has this promoted trust and understanding and produced international peace and security?
I think that declaration, that what you just said, does the exact opposite, because it's created so many different groups of, this one says this and that one says that, and each one of them declare that, you know, we know the truth, or we know what's best, and we know that this is right. And so there's so much confusion with a statement like that, because there isn't a unity in that. It's dividing so many people. And to tolerate every one of these things is to say, yeah, it's okay for you to do this. Yeah, it's okay for you to be that. Yeah, it's okay for you to, you know, defy how God made you, or whatever. You know, I think about the gay community and how the tolerance for that community has grown so wide and so unbelievably crazy that if we tolerate that, well, I see that there's tolerance, you know, seeping even into the church today. And, you know, as Christians, as believers, we need to really check and see, where, according to the word of God, how we should stand in certain situations. So I don't know if that answered it, but that's what I got out of that.
Go ahead, Madeline.
I look at it as you're going to have cultural diversity. You know, you have cultural diversity. I mean, like right here in the city of Detroit, I can remember coming up and there was a distinct difference between East Side and West Side. And you would discuss that and talk about, well, you know, East Side does this and, you know, West Side, you know, so you're going to have cultural differences. That's just a norm. You can't get away from that. The tolerance for different lifestyles and everything, I would look at the church for a lot of the mishaps that have happened, like the speaker was just saying about the homosexuality. Well, I blame the church on a lot of that, because this started from, I don't know, it could have started brewing before that, but I start recognizing it in the 80s that the media was talking about it more and more, and you know, and then they start talking about the gay pride and let's have the parades, and but I saw it in the church, the music, the minister of music appeared to be homosexual, but the pastor allowed that person to play that music all over the congregation and everything. You saw homosexuality coming into the church, but the church remained silent. The church wasn't saying anything until all of a sudden it's this explosion, and now, you know, people want to say something. If the church, I believe, had did what it was supposed to do, the media couldn't have taken it and run with it. I was just watching something about the radical monarchs. They used to be called the radical brownies. And it's a group raising up young girls to be politically aware and to get involved in the different political things that are happening in their societies. And they take them, I guess, from like age 7 on up. And it broke my heart, because the things that they're teaching them are good, are very good, but they start with telling them that, oh, you know, you should have a tolerance for LGBTQRSTUV because we're to be accepting of everybody. Well, the two leaders who started the group, they're queer, and so they're teaching these young people to have tolerance. And hey, I have tolerance, but I don't have acceptance. It's a difference. Love the person, hate the sin.
Right.
And let you know, given the opportunity to minister, then you minister to them, but you let them know, hey, you know, I don't say it, the Bible says. So I don't know, the statement that's made there, that's a statement that if it was how it should be, how the world should be, but the world is not like that. So the statement, I don't think the statement caused these things. I think the media and the lack of the church doing what they're supposed to do is the reason for a lot, if not most, of hate and homosexuality and other things being proliferated throughout this earth realm.
Well, that last statement actually is a reflection of secular humanism, which thinks that man is going to become better and better all by themselves. And
Yeah.
so, you know, they want to do it without God, and they want us to accept all their perversity and their lack of absolute truth, and be silent about it. And while we don't have to be in your face and antagonistic, we do have to take a stand, and it hopefully develop relationships where we can show people what the actual truth is. Today, they want everybody to be multicultural. They want us to be so the same, but yet so different. So multi, what does it mean? Many. And cultural, Wikipedia talks about the social behavior and norms found in human society. So we have different kinds of societies. But if we go back to let's look right back here in the second dot here about what UNESCO was talking about, cultural should be regarded as distinctive, spiritual, material, intellectual, and emotional features of society or social group, and it encompasses, in addition to art and literature, lifestyles, ways of living together, talks about values, systems, traditions, and beliefs. But there's a couple of things that aren't there, right? What's not there?
God.
God is not there. One of the things when I first started looking into this, national identity, they don't want us to be Americans. They want us to be citizens of the world. And they're taking away our roots.
But what is American for real? I mean, my question is, for real, what is American? Because as far as I know, even the indigenous people came from the East and landed here. So what is American for real? Because the Europeans came from another place, and they were immigrants, and they came here and they took over the indigenous people. And you have, just like the Europeans came here and wanted to make this place home, you have other people coming from other lands who want to come here and make this place home. So what is American for real? And who gets to claim and state what an American person should be, look like, speak like, and everything? Because the very people that I hear speaking about America, well, all of their people came from overseas too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we talk about nationalities as
color. Is it a
borders.
white color to your skin? And you speak a certain way. I mean, I need to have someone make it plain for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, we do have national borders, which you become citizens of those countries, whether you originated there or not. But we can talk about that. It's
Unless you live in San Francisco.
We'll talk. We tend to get grouped together, right? And immigrants would come to this country in, like, Wisconsin and Minnesota. You would have Scandinavian people in different areas around Detroit. My family grew up in a Polish area. My husband's family, Italian immigrants, they settled together. You have different, in Dearborn, we have Muslim in origin, different countries, So we have different things that kind of tend to attract us together. So one of the things that becoming a participant in the country where you live in and taking an active role in understanding that the diversity of history, right? At one point, people had the idea that we were all the same, but we are not all the same. So how do we interact with one another? We have different affinities. And Nitsa Hidalgo in 1993 wrote a paper and talked about 3 different levels of culture, which helps us group together. A concrete category of culture is a visible and tangible level of where we have a commonality in the kind of clothes and music and food and games and
language.
Yeah, that we participate in. It's something physical. When we went to Belgium and became involved in the Latin American subculture, they would, just like the immigrants to the United States, would group together because they had similarities and similar likes. Okay, and then we have like our languages, what you were talking about, in our social roles. Just because we could be Eastern Indian or a European country or a Latin American, we hook together with our social roles. If we're blue collar, we have Michigan is largely blue collar. The Detroit metropolitan area is very blue collar, and even our Christians here, when we lived out east in Pennsylvania, the Christians were completely different, and I was their education level was very high, usually often masters. There's a lot level, and the way of interacting was different, even among races. So we have just the very tangible things like what do we like? Do we like rap? Do we like blues? Do we like Tex-Mex? Do we like football? We hang out together based on those things. And then there's these other things, that commonalities that hook us together, how we behave. It reflects our values. Okay, and then we also have a deeper abstract level, symbolic, is what are our actual values and beliefs. So this, while you may have enjoyment with someone that's not a Christian that likes basketball or soccer, for example, they don't necessarily partake of our Christian values and beliefs, and our communication, the deeper level of interaction like we have now is because we can communicate about our values and ideas, and not just because we're speaking English to one another, and not just because we're Lions fans.
But you find that all around the world. You find that in every place of existence around the world. There's no difference. If I'm in Japan, you have your Christian set of people there. You have your people. If you look at how we dress, we all dress the same. From what I can essentially see, it doesn't matter where you are around the world. People, we have our ethnic garb and stuff, but for the mainly we all dress the same. We all have values, morals. There's LGBTQRS all around the world. There's deviation. There's scammers. There's but there's good, loving people. So that's all around the world. So that just brings me back to my question again, to really what is an American. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, when you're looking at different countries, originally there were only like territorial groups, right? You had tribes that traveled, you had people who obtained the authority and power, whether they were religious rulers or merely governmental rulers, and they had their dominion, and people generally would gather together under a social compact. Okay, we had people that came, for example, on the Mayflower, because they had different things that they were seeking, leaving Europe to come to the United States, which was not the United States at the time, but they had different things. Some people wanted opportunity. Some people were escaping prosecution, and some people were seeking the freedom to live like they want without the rulers telling them what they had to do. So when you're talking about Americans, I think when you have people coming in that don't respect our laws, and they don't know or care about what our history is and how we got where we were, we've overcome a lot of things in this country in less than 300 years, where when you look at in some Asian countries and African countries which their civilizations and societies existed prior to us, and yet they haven't managed to be able to even take care of some of the basic needs of the people that live there.
Same thing here, though. We have those same things that you're talking about there, right here in this country too. And I'm a little amiss about what you're saying about they come and they don't, with the laws and breaking the laws and all that. I mean, we have one of the biggest crooks here, formerly, what is his name? Donald Trump, one of the biggest crooks, but yet he wants to make America great again. What's great about what he's doing? What makes America great? I'm confused. And his wife is an immigrant. But I'm still confused. Go ahead and keep explaining it to me, please.
Well, I think what makes up our country broke away from another overset of rulers from far away that wanted to tell us how to live without being able to represent ourselves. And I think in the United States, while the system is far from perfect, right? But we do have some things put into place to, well, the structure of society is for protection, and it has a list of commonalities. So when you're looking at the United States and what is an American, I think we all represent different things as far as being an American. We can look at, for example, a mayor of Detroit who was put into prison, but yet people still wanted to vote for him. Or in Latin America, people that embezzle.
Like Donald Trump. It's like Donald Trump, but Donald Trump was the president, but this guy was only a mayor. But I'm still, make me understand.
don't think I can make you understand. I'm trying to say that society, we make rules for the protection and mutual benefit of the people. It's a social compact, an agreement, right? So if you're a resident of the city of Detroit, for example, then you're saying that I am going to live under the rules that our leaders that we've put into place make, so that they can help run things and make my life better, but also they have a responsibility to us too, right? The same thing with the state of Michigan. Some of us were born here and some of us chose to live here for different reasons. My grandparents, like both of my grandfathers, came here from other areas because there was work. Right? So do we all think the same way? No. Do we all have the same family structures? No. We know those don't line up with what the Bible shows. So when I'm trying to talk about in culture crosses national boundaries, right?
Right.
My husband's family came off of the boat, and they had certain customs that they brought over from Italy, and they gathered together and helped one another to get established. And the idea when we were talking about praying for our leaders is so that we live quiet and peaceable lives.
What about the American Indians? They're the first ones. Every single solitary people group in the world have all been semi-destroyed at one time or another, whether it be the Jews from the Hitler, whether it be the American Indians from the white people came in and crucified them and took away all of their land, all the way down to down in Louisiana. I mean, every single solitary group has all been through torture in somewhere in our lifespan, neither our lives nor our past lives of our grandparents, our great grandparents, or whomever parents. But we're all together at the same time. So to me, if I didn't have God, we would not. I just like to be happy. And if I can't be happy with God, then there's a problem there. But also at the same time, you have to have respect for other people. But you don't have to, like Madeline said, we don't have to accept it. We can tolerate it, but we don't have to like it. So I'm right there on that. But that's just my opinion. I think, every culture for our whole entire existence of this world, from birth of the world to today. That's my 2 cents. I'm done.
You're done for the second.
I don't.
That question, what makes an American?
Yeah,
That is
tough.
a very wow kind of question. And as the one lady was speaking, and then oh shoot, Kathy spoke the things that you said. Trying to think, and all I could think of was my grandmother and grandfather came from the Ukraine, and they went to New York, Ellis Island, and when they came into this land, into America, they still had their culture. They still lived in a Ukrainian Polish community, but they learned English, the American language, and they also abided by the laws in the United States. And I think in spite of all the horror the tragedies and the wrong leaders and wrong places and all that other stuff, what makes an American is when they have a true conscience of how the basis of how this country came about. And it was based on our forefathers who made this country under God. They put God first, and they came together as for that. But as time has gone on and this world becomes darker and darker, I think we're going to see a lot more of this brokenness in our own country. We used to be a country that everybody wanted to come to, and now, you know, some of our other, you know, countries here and there are looking at the United States as, wow, what's happening to them? And so, you know, I myself as an American, I was very, it made me very proud when my grandmother would share how excited she was to land, you know, and come to the United States and all the things that happened to her. And it wasn't easy. She was only 16 years old, and she came here and she made a life, and it was a good life. And my grandfather, he was one of the very first foremen at the Rouge plant in Dearborn. And you know, the history of that. And so, you know, like Kathy said, there is going to be these horrific tragedies, and millions of lives have been lost in so many different time frames and different, you know, like Hitler and even the Middle East and all these things that are happening, war. But it all boils down to, just like as a believer, we have to stay true to the law of the Word of God and then to the law of the land. And I guess that's, to me, that's what makes an American or a citizen. Whatever you are a citizen, whatever country you're a citizen of, that's what makes you a citizen of that country.
And I agree with a lot of what you're saying. My people were sold and stolen from the motherland, Africa, from the West Coast mainly, and brought to this land and enslaved, and then got what they called freedom. And when they built themselves up and built their towns and made a way out of no way, their towns were burnt down by the great masses of whites who thought that if you have something, then you're taking something away from me. Freeways put through our towns because of divide and conquer, and still we rise. So I you know, and I know what the so-called forefathers, you know, established for this land. I call myself an American. And yeah, I'm proud to be an American because I contribute to this country in spite of everything, even to this day, that is being tried to be, you know, ripped and stolen from me, but I still call myself an American. And what I can ascertain from the people, I don't agree with all the hundreds of thousands of people that are coming here. It's too many, but that's because the government did not put control over the border. Don't blame the people if they saw freedom and there wasn't anything being done to block them from getting in. Yeah, they want to come in and be in this free country and assimilate into this country. They're not, this country is the fault for them coming and being able to set up whatever, the Muslim temple or this or that, because we didn't adhere to the rule of Jesus. All right. Jesus said, yeah, the foreigners can come. It's biblical. The foreigners can come, but they have to adhere to your ways. Okay. Not that, oh, this is the land of the free. You can do anything you want. Okay. So come in. You can bring in all your different religions, your whatever, even your Satanism. Hey, they allow them to do that too, because they call it a religion. And hey, our arms are open wide. Well, the United States government is to blame for that. Don't blame those
That's
people.
right.
Okay.
That's right. I agree.
No, I agree with that too.
Yeah,
I
me
don't think that anybody's blaming the people, but when, for example, I'll tell you, previously, when we went to live in Belgium, they had a set of requirements for us to adhere to in order for us to be able to live there without being a burden to the Belgian system, right? And we worked with, when we got there, we worked with Latin Americans, and they were coming there because they could get work. They came illegally, and they basically wanted to just be able to live because a decent life. And most of them were not, a criminal element. They were doing hard work, just like any immigrant group to the United States that came in. My husband's grandfather dug ditches for the water department, and laid those pipes, right? So, and as you get integrated into the society, you're able to, like you say, build yourself up. You're able to be able to acquire, hopefully, a place to live that's secure and meaningful employment. And one of the things that we as a society are commissioned to by God is to take care of the weak and the poor. And that's, he commissioned the Israelites to do that. And that's one of the things that we need to do as morally. And so again, just like Madeline said, because we're not doing that, then secular humanism comes in and they say that we're going to take over the people of God's job. So what we're talking about today is that while people are coming in with these different religions, if we discriminate against them, then we as Christians can expect to be discriminated against. And because we have a standard, we see that
well, they should respect the rules of the law of the land.
And not I apologize, Kathy, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's all right. I was just saying they shouldn't, I don't expect, we should have respect for them coming in, and they should have respect for our laws, our rules, follow our rules as American rules, not coming in to go, okay, I'm Susie Cream Cheese and I'm going to be doing whatever, dancing in the street. I'm making it up, but it's like, have respect. They don't have respect.
They do respect our laws. Our laws give them openness to come in and set up, do whatever it is, because this is the land of freedom, and you can do anything and practically everything in this country. It's our fault, the government. When I say our fault, it's our fault that you have, and you don't have the vast majority of criminal elements. That's not true coming in. But this country does not allow them to come in and get work. They're trying to work on that in Congress right now. They come in, and yeah, they're being taken care of because you won't allow them to come in and work in what they're capable of working. You have people coming from all type of professions, blue collar, white collar, able to do really good work and continue to build this country, but you don't allow them to do that. They're not being allowed to do that. And then once again, the border is out of control. I don't blame the governor of Texas for shipping them. He should have shipped them to all the states if he was really thinking, because it's totally out of control. Why? Because the government, for years and years and years, it didn't start with President Obama. It continued through Trump, and Biden is slow, but he's trying to finally do something. I don't know, maybe because it's an election year. I don't know, but it's been going on for far too long. It's been going on for a few decades now. It's been out of control. So get it back in control, tighten it up, get it in control. The amount of people that you're allowing in shouldn't be allowed in, but I don't know about what the church getting. Let me say the church. Let me get back to the government again, because they've allowed things to just go. You know, what can I say? It's like Vesuvius, Mount St. Helen blowing up because they allowed that to happen. All of this stuff, and don't blame it on the foreigners coming in. Blame it on this country. And yes, we are the laughing stock of the world. We've allowed someone to come in and break down our democracy, and that person wasn't a foreigner.
Well, we're not just talking about one person that that is trying to break down the Democratic Republic. What it all is just like Satan tried to usurp the authority of God and become the ruler. Whenever there's ambition, excessive ambition, lust for power and money, it causes people to oppress. And it's not limited to one social group. It's not limited to one race. It's not limited to one religion. It's not limited to one nationality. It comes from the father of lies, right? Because we're willing to do whatever it is to get what we have lust for, right? So I'm really excited because obviously we are able to be together talking on more of a symbolic, conceptual idea, and actually I believe we're being very respectful of different impassioned and convictions that we have. So it seems to me when we're meeting somebody that has some of these different thoughts, we can't generalize what 500,000 people are coming into this country to do, but I can go from my experience with moving to another country, and we had these immigration laws in place so that our society could receive people without them having to live on the streets. People do, we know, live on the streets for a lot of different reasons. A lot of it is mental illness or drug abuse and that type of thing. Some people have are restricted financially, and then something happens and then they end up that way. But what we need to understand is they're not all, the people that come to this country are not all the same. They don't all have the same motivations. And we can't expect outside of the kingdom of heaven for this to resolve itself. That's a humanist idea that, and there is a Christian doctrine that things are going to get better and be heaven on earth before the Lord comes back. And we scripturally, we have to realize that the earth is going to be renewed, renovated, and it's not going to be under the dominion of the kingdoms of this world any longer. So it's all going to change. So you know, if you have or haven't dealt with other cultures or nationalities, I mean, we've lived in a different culture, working with a subculture and working among different cultures. So, you know, it's a valid question, what is an American? But because we don't all come from European roots, right? We come from Asia, we come from Africa, we come from Latin America, and that brings good and bad systems. But the only system of the world that's going to stand and can have total justice and total righteousness is from the King of Kings, where he's the only one that's totally just and totally righteous and can see things with all knowledge, because our knowledge is in part. Right. So yeah, no one can blame anybody for wanting a better life and working hard. The Latin Americans that we knew in Belgium did a lot of hard work. Our immigrant forefathers worked hard. My grandfather was a coal miner at one point.
My grandfather's indentured servant for 20 years.
You know, so, you know, but the one thing about the United States versus other areas that I found, and which is now becoming less and less, is that we could be entrepreneurs. We could have control of our own destiny to some degree. And because, you know, we wanted a king to be like the rest of the world, just like Israel, I think that there's a difference now. And from the time we come back from Belgium to now, there's less opportunity and less freedom for us to govern our own lives and take responsibility. So it's this last question on this thing: what forces in our society might contribute to our simplification of the cultures of others, even though we don't want to be defined simplistically ourselves? I think there's media, and there's educational forces and governmental forces, and there's selfish people who are trying to manipulate the circumstances for their own gain, and they don't really care about ordinary you and me. I think this is a quite interesting turn of events for our talk about the diverse culture in the United States. So we need to try to be more consistent in our thoughts. How can we do that?
Did you say our thoughts?
Our thoughts and our
Action?
in our viewpoints about what's going on.
Okay.
When we only listen to our own thoughts, then we don't get challenged. We're doing the iron sharpening iron, just like we were talking about, that we're challenging ourselves to rise up. This wasn't the idea in this class to open our eyes that there's different cultures and we have different backgrounds, which cause us to see things through different lenses. But what the goal of this class initially is to help us to understand that the people that we deal with come from diverse backgrounds and have diverse thoughts, and the powers that be are trying to divide and conquer us. And that even in the church, we have various thoughts about what life is and where we came from and what is ideal. But yet we have a Bible standard of how we are supposed to participate in our society, right? If we're sitting back and letting it happen to us, then we're letting the tide of the enemy who is behind the scene here, trying to control and manipulate and dominate. Because why? He wanted to be like God.
Mhm.
So, so we need to recognize how different influences can move us backwards when we need to be moving forward to what the Bible is talking about. And we're not fighting against principalities and powers and in this earth. There's spiritual forces that are behind all this, right? And you know, it's not about being a donkey or an elephant. It's about what we can do to make the kingdom of God more evident in where we're at, and not relying on the government,
Prevail.
because the governments are temporary. The
Mhm.
nations of this world are temporary.
Mhm.
So we're not, you know, I think that we need to move on to the next part, but it's also connected. Any comments before we continue with looking at tolerance?
I just have one little small comment
Sure.
about, well, maybe two. The first one is from what I can see, is that when the people do try to come together to change things, that it seems to be a division that comes in, that tries to disperse them from coming together to achieve something that's for the good of all. And then about depending on the government, well, sometimes you have to depend upon the government when the government is the one, whether it happened decades ago or whatever, is responsible for the systematic or systemic, rather, injustices that continue throughout this day. So the government allowed it, the government encouraged it, and so the government should make restitution, for it. That's all.
Yeah, we can look at government is only there to make government bigger. And depending on it, when let's change the word to taking advantage of it, because there are times when we do take advantage of different programs that and grants and help and aid from government agencies, and that, but our source has to be our God, right? So we can look at the governments if we look at Franklin Roosevelt during the Depression, increasing social programs, and then we look at the war on poverty, and in the 1960s, which there's still poverty, we look at the war on drugs, and there's still epidemics of drugs. So we can see government entities are not the answer. They just get bigger and propagate themselves. And I definitely am not going to tell anybody not to take unemployment, right?
But Trish, you also have to, as you are saying these things, you must look also at the underlying issue. Yes, there's still drugs, but look, the pharmaceutical companies were working with doctors to promulgate drugs throughout society, and they haven't gone to jail for it. Okay, they had to pay out, you know, a couple of billion or whatever, but they haven't gone to jail. So they are the biggest drug dealers out, but yet they're saying the people, the immigrants who are coming in here are really, you know, they're convicts, and they're doing these things. But we have the powers to be. You have in the Black community, where the government is the one that infiltrated drugs coming into the urban Black cities. Oh, all right. Once again, divide and conquer them. So always look at the underlying issue. Don't just look at what you see. You know, we must have the discernment to look beyond what we are given and what's on the surface, and see the underlying issues that brought this to be. You know, it's not just a surface issue.
Right, which is what was in point number 2, right? So the point is, how can we as chaplains counteract that, right? Being aware and not blaming, because the flesh is the flesh. People are going to, a company is in business to make money. Ford Motor Company is in business to make money. That's what its mission is, and it provides jobs for its workers and people in the area. So, you know, we have to remember that there's these entities have a position in society, but they're not the whole problem, and they're not all the whole solution either.
Mhm.
Right? A greedy management is not, is different than a management that is trying to make a living.
Mhm.
So the whole thing is, when you think about who's doing these things, the people that are using immigrants, legal or illegal, to bring things into this country, those people aren't the ones that are making the money. The ones that are making the money are the ones that are having a woman swallow a bag of cocaine and bring it in to this country, and then defecate it out, and at the risk of it blowing up inside of her and dying. They don't care about her. She's making $100 or whatever to do it, and they are making how much, right?
Millions. Yeah.
So it's the people that are taking advantage of other people for their own benefit, and that is the fallen nature. And it's with warlords in Asia, conquerors like Hannibal, Putin, president. It's what we're going to expect from the flesh. So we want to be examples of the kingdom of God here and understand some of these issues, yes, but these aren't the ones that limit us in our helping the people that are around us. Okay.
Trish, can I say something? I don't know if this, I guess for me, there was someone I was listening to, and they were talking about how, you know, if we look at everything as a whole all the time, I mean, we're only one person. I'm one person. And I think if every single one of us as Christians reached out to even just one person and poured into them or gave them hope and ministered to them, how many people would be in a better place today? But sometimes we get so overwhelmed with what is happening all around us, is that we're here and there and everywhere. And I guess I was challenged at one point to like in our own neighborhood, in our own community, to just reach out to that one person and help them and minister to them and pour love into them and hope into them. And then that person is able to do it to a next person and to the next person and to the next person. And I guess that's where I'm at right now. Just starting out with the IYM, and ministering to one young man at a time has become so powerful to me, and it's ministered to me, and it's shown me how there are so many people out there. But if each one of us just found that one person, and I know we're always in situations where there's lots of people, but in reality, that one-on-one, that ministering to that one, that helping that one, reaching out to that one, being available for that one, if we all do that as Christians, as chaplains, as ministers, as whatever, brothers and sisters in the Lord, how much better things would be.
Amen.
Right. So I guess, with all this whole conversation, this whole going back and forth, like what is American and everything, the one thing I keep thinking of is, if my people would humble themselves and pray, and that's the first thing we need to do, is pray. We've got to be a praying people before we do anything.
Amen.
So I guess, okay, that's all.
Now, when you're talking, it reminded me of the question of the in I think it was the rich young ruler was saying, who is my neighbor, right? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. No, it wasn't the young ruler, it was the Pharisees. And their neighbor as yourself, and someone saying, who is your neighbor? So I think that is a good question. Who is our neighbor?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue at we were talking about tolerance versus acceptance, right? And I think these three things that are on this these first dots, the traditionally view of tolerance was respecting other people's beliefs and practices without sharing them, or to bear or put up with something not especially liked. We don't particularly agree with it, but it's yours, whatever. And now people are the new tolerance is everybody's beliefs are equal and lifestyles and truths are equal. And I have to accept that. So we look at the word equal, but we know that that's not true, because the Bible has definite definite things that are not inferior or on the same par as worldly philosophies and beliefs and lifestyles. So Josh McDowell, well, that's not his, that must have been his. Truth cannot be sacrificed at the altar of a pretended tolerance. Some beliefs are false and we know them to be false. So it does no good to put a halo on the notion of tolerance as if everything could be equally true. And Ryan Dobson in Be Tolerant said, tolerance is the virtue of those who believe in nothing rather than stand up for what is right or wrong. So that's also what we're talking about, standing up for what is right or wrong. The voice of tolerance says we should just let everyone be, that we'll better understand each other if we accept them as we are. So we do need to accept people without prejudice, but we don't have to receive what they say or feel as equal to what our convictions are based on the Bible. Okay. In today's postmodern culture, which is starting in very prevalent, it started before Woodrow Wilson, but started to invade culture, the postmodern culture, there's a crisis of belief. We've developed a distorted belief of God, a distorted idea of what is truth, and a distorted view of reality. And as we were talking, there's different entities out there that are trying to tell us what is reality and what is God. So even Christians talk to each other about, who do you think God is, or what do you think God is like? Okay. When we talk about a personal relationship with God, we have a personal God because we made him our Savior. He made him our God. He's not in our pocket though. Right. And we, in society, people try to take pieces of different kinds of faith and say it's all equal so that we don't offend anyone. But the gospel is going to offend people. And today's attitude is whatever works for you. And, you know, I think in the past, there was in the 80s, you know, the moral majority, and I can understand secular humanists and atheists being upset because they felt like God was being pushed down our throat. But now we've got all this other garbage being pushed down our throat, and we just have to kind of suck it up. We just have to kind of eat it and accept it. And we also try to make a God that fits us and not us to fit to God. So when I'm talking about society, I think we need to apply this to us as Christians. We need to adapt to God, and the world is going to adapt to God, and every knee is going to bow, and every tongue is going to confess. It's just a matter of whether we do it out of reverence or we do it because we're forced to.
At judgment.
I've got a note here that in the faith book, Chuck Colson says 47 out of every 100 evangelicals believe that truth can be known. And that's a really damning statement. That was written, what, I'd have to look at when the book was first published, that back then only 47% of supposedly evangelical Christians don't believe that truth can be known. And if we don't believe that truth could be known, how is society going to be? And the majority of society doesn't believe that there's a plumb line, a standard. And we can see that it's going back and forth like a pendulum. And I remember seeing a meme one time about like middle of the road person, like in the 60s, and now that middle of the road person is extremely conservative, and the standard keeps shifting to less and less moral truth. the postmodern view being propagated in our education system actively since the 1920s is that all truth is subjective and personally determined. So it's what I see it is and how I feel it is. And in the church, we have this shift. Instead of the Bible says this, it's what does this verse mean to you? How do you see it? How does it apply to you? What do you see it? And then this is a really damning statement, and I really find it to be true. We're conditioned to believe truth is not truth unless we choose to believe it. And I was thinking this morning, back in the days of the conquistadores and that great explorers going out in ships, they thought the world was flat. But it wasn't the truth. And some people came out, like Galileo, to say that no, the earth is round based on these things. But whether they chose to believe it or not, the earth was still round.
Right.
Okay, and this is an interesting statement. A common belief is that all thinking is social construct, which what does that mean? It's a theory of sociology or communication that says the understanding the world forms a basis for shared assumptions about something. So because we all believe it, that makes it the foundation and makes it the truth. That social construct is when a group of people believes that this is the way it is, and so that's the foundation.
That must be true. Right.
Okay.
It seems as if that's what not just this nation, but all around the world, it seems like, okay, that's what everyone is living off of now, social constructs. Because we're in a mess because they believe it is so, you know, and that's where, once again, if you don't have Jesus, if you're not teaching Jesus, if you're not doing I don't know who was speaking before that says each one reach one, that's essentially what Jesus told us to do. He said, go ye, you know, he didn't say you had to go ye in a church. Each one, reach out to your neighbor, reach out to the person in line at the supermarket, you know, reach out to your colleague in the workplace at your lunch hour, you know, but we are living under just what you just said, because also what is I can't I can't think of the name for that, where you believe it because that's what you believe, then that is what is so in your mind.
Right, and we could see that now in people saying that because, you know, it's okay for this person to think that they're a woman when they're a man, and if that makes it so, it's like, okay. But all right, and so this last little dot here, another common belief: any statement or system that claims to be objectively true or unfavorably judges the values, beliefs, lifestyle, and truth claims of another culture is a power plan and an effort by one culture to dominate other cultures. And so that goes with what we're talking about as far as Bible standards. And people have said that it's a Western philosophy when the Bible was written down by people in Middle Eastern cultures. And it crosses denominations, it crosses cultures, it crosses religions. And it's not You know, when missionaries went out, mistakenly, we thought that civilizing people was evangelizing them, but they did bring the truth of the gospel to these peoples, right? And you know, piggybacking off of human ambition and greed, the gospel was spread. But the Bible is not, Christians are not trying to dominate and subjugate people and make everybody do things our way. We're opening up a way of freedom to people and not restricting them. We've become very rational and reasonable in our view of society. Okay, right now we're saying that men are women, and only women aren't the only ones that can have babies. So as a society, it's more and more prevalent, right? That what is true and relevant is whatever works right now. If it works for you, it's right for you. Which makes it difficult for us to share the standards of the Bible and they don't necessarily govern in our churches, right? But there's a big difference between what works for right now and what is right. Okay, what works for right now is having sex outside of marriage and trying to deal with the fallout. But what is right is if we're doing the Bible standards, I'll give you a second, Bridget. Let me just finish this thought. If we're doing by Bible standards, and this is how we can share with people, it's not small-minded, it's a safety net. Okay, Bridget, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was saying to, there was a situation where a young lady I went to school with, I had married a cousin and I married another fellow school mate that I went to school with, so she found out. So she contacted me and she was telling me that she was getting married and she had planned a wedding. Then to come to find out, she's marrying, you know, another woman. She's marrying the same sex. And so I just told her, you know, yes, I can marry you, until I found out that later on down the line, towards more of a plan of the wedding, that it was another woman. So I had to talk to her and let her know that I cannot marry you. And she became very upset with me and, you know, calling me, you know, I was judging her, and I call myself a minister and this and that. So you're supposed to know God love everybody. You're not supposed to do that. And, you know, we went to school together. We know each other for all these years. And so you should do it. She was very upset because I told her I could not, you know, partake in something of that, you know, nature. And I don't do same-sex marriages. You know, that's not what I have studied in scripture, and it does not say that. And the word of God does not say anything about a woman with a woman. You know, it said a man should leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, become one flesh in Genesis 2:24. And so I cannot stand before the people and marry you and another woman of the same sex. That's not my belief. And that's not what I got my license in ministry to do. So that's just one of the things I can do. And I will not partake in the same sex marriage. I can't marry you. And she felt that was her belief, that I was wrong, that I should not have backed out of marrying her because she told me love is love. You know, that I should never, ever feel, you know, that way and turn somebody away from, you know, if they love one another, I should be able to say, yes, I'll do this. But that's not my belief, and that's not what I stand for. And that is most definitely out of the will of God. and I would not partake in that. There's nothing that you could tell me. And I don't feel I was wrong because I backed out, because I didn't know that. I thought you were marrying a man. So I cannot partake in your wedding because you're marrying another woman.
And that is just indicative of the double standard, right?
Right.
That we can't maintain our convictions. That's wrong, but the other people in the world can go ahead,
Right.
and we need to conform to and say, well, it's all right for you, but I can't have my standards. So,
Right.
So one of the things here that is an example of someone lying on an exam to get into a Bible college. It's kind of, we need to be careful of a double standard and compromising. Doing something wrong to achieve an end is not right. No matter what we want to tell each other, right? Okay, so how can we change things? Obviously, when we're young, we think, oh, we're going to change the world and we're going to do something big to affect society. But these things that we have to understand, the Bible talks about, they're going to get worse and worse. Governments are going to fall. Civilizations are going to fall. The systems of the world are going to fall. So we can't trust in the world system, even though we can work to make things better in our surroundings. We can work to have the kingdom of God and his love and his righteousness.
I want to take it air.
Go ahead.
He'll go back. Sorry guys about that. I'm talking to my cat. I know I had took it off mute. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So the solution isn't a governmental solution. The solutions for the wrongs of the world are not societal. We can actually see the world has been deteriorating and dying since the Garden of Eden. And God isn't saying for us to overlook and not be indignant about the wrongs that are around us. And we have examples of individuals who have spent their lives and their health to make things better. We have Wilberforce, who died as a young man in England, working diligently to have slavery outlawed. We have, I remember we grew up Catholic, a priest. There's nothing wrong with some of the monks and people that came here. When you read about some of the pioneers coming to the United States, some of these monks died horrific deaths trying to share the gospel with the indigenous peoples here in the United States, with no benefit to themselves, right? And we can see this. I remember seeing a movie as a child about Father Damien, who went and established a leper colony and worked with people with leprosy to help make their condition better. We have Mother Teresa, who spent time bettering the conditions of the poor. Even back in the Roman days, we had the Christians saving the babies that were thrown outside of Romulus and Remus because they weren't whatever. You have in China that one baby policy, and people trying to rescue and keep their children or you know. So the solution is only going to, for a better society, is only going to come when the establishment of the kingdom of God. But what can we do to make the people, the kingdom of God, reside and have people be free in their personal lives? We need to comprehend how deepened beliefs in God and his word can so ground a person in his or her relationship with God that they'll be able to answer the fundamental questions of life. Pilate said, "What is truth?" People want to know, what is the meaning of life? And there was the Westminster Catechism that said the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. To believe in something is to accept it as true, genuine, or real. We have people that are believing falsehoods.
Yeah.
About transgenderism and etc. But having a conviction, a Bible conviction, is being so thoroughly convinced that something is absolutely true that we take a stand for it regardless of the consequences, which is, you know, we can see that in what Bridget was talking about with her friend and not performing that marriage ceremony. And we have belief, but convictions is what motivates us to act. So the Bible talks about the devils believed and trembled, right? They believed that Jesus was the Son of God, but they did not submit and serve to him. And so what we believe in our convictions we have to examine them to line up, to see how they line up with the Bible. And what our leaders, our religious leaders and our civic leaders are telling us is what they're saying lining up with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about relational apologetics, defending the faith, is the rock solid reasons to believe and a biblical blueprint for living out those beliefs in relationship with others. So that's basically what we're talking about when we're understanding the changing, shifting cultures, the changing standards, the different things companies are trying to push off and force us to accept and indulge in. Okay. And that Bible belief with convictions will open the way for anyone to live life in all its fullness, as Jesus said. So when we're moving in the light that God has for us to move in, I mean, we're in our situation and have experienced what we've experienced so that God can equip, and God uses that to equip us to be effective with the people that he's going to put in our paths and challenge one another and to help people around us live in the fullness and the freedom that they don't want to, because, you know, they want to have their own way. But that also talks about submitting to God's righteousness. So, you know, our ideas and our faith have to go from thoughts to living them out. If this is what you believe, you're going to act on it. Okay? Any wrapping up thoughts? I didn't think we were going to get through this because we spent a lot of time going beyond some of the ideas that I had written down as far as going with the first part of this class.
I would like to just say that this the question, the big question that was brought up, and there was so much discussion on, that was really that was very like thought-provoking for me. And it's something that you don't always, I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. I've never heard that question, you know, just that question alone. And it was really very interesting, and I guess educating for me to hear everybody's comments and everything. So I really enjoyed this Zoom today.
Great.
I think it's very important for us from different backgrounds and with different experiences and different outlooks. I mean, we see the same events and have a completely different response to them based on where we came from and what we experienced, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's good to challenge us and to help see, you know, what we can do to bring a meeting of the road, you know, where we can work together to do the job for Christ based on some of our different situations and experiences.
And I know with me, I try to do one for one person, like we were talking earlier, one act of random kindness. And we can't fix everything. We can only fix our own individual circumstances around us. And if we go with God and we pass out what Jesus would do, you can't go wrong, basically. So just love them, whoever it is, and have respect for that person, and have a random act of kindness, and that'll shock them.
Yeah, that makes somebody's day, you know, makes them say there is something good in the world. Okay, so for Etta Tolan and Bridget, you're going to read chapter 5 at Ethics 101 and the homework questions, 5 factors that can tarnish the golden rule. Reading chapter 4 in the faith, because that's what we're going to go over next week, ethics and relational apologetics from that chapter in the faith book, and the questions from, yeah, I already said that, from the Ethics 101 book. So Etta, did you get your books in them yet?
Yeah, I got them Friday, Thursday, and Friday.
Did you get the trauma book too?
I got them all.
You got them all, great. Okay. That makes it easier. You don't have to have internet to read.
Right.
And do the homework. Do you want me to send you the link for the lesson 2, week 2? Because you had gotten week 1. Just a second, Anna.
I thought you had sent it to me. Yeah, send it to me again, just in case I didn't get it, but I thought you did send it.
I sent you the one to week 1, the overview on chaplaincy, but I didn't send you 2, which is what is 2 called? Communication and listening skills, because I wanted you to be able to catch up and get what we're at. So I will send that to you. Okay, Anna, you wanted to say something? You had a question?
Yes. Yeah, no, I was wondering about the homework because I never got anything from you from the homework. So are we supposed to purchase these books? I have the faith on my Kindle, but I ordered the ethics, and you said one more book or something?
Well, you didn't have to order them. I had, I did send you the links. Do I not have your correct email? Because I sent you, I sent you an email with the evaluation exercise from last week. The evaluation, if you want the questions, I can send you the questions as well.
For some reason, I didn't get your email though. I didn't get it.
After the class, text me, because what I had was Zion Blessed, I believe. Is that not your email?
No, that's not my email.
Ah,
No,
okay.
that's mine.
That's yours? Okay, so then, let me think, what email did I send it to? I'd have to look into my, because it wasn't it Pastor Anna at Yahoo or something, Pastor Anna?
Yes, but I'm gonna send you my other one. Maybe it got to that one.
Okay, text me the other one and because that's the one I had for you, was Pastor Anna, so.
Okay, I'll see if I can find that one through there, but I'll
I
text
can forward that to the new email. If you text that to me, I can resend that to you. And
okay, I'll forward it to you.
I
So that's all I needed for as homework though?
Well, in that link, you could look online for those books, so you didn't have to order them.
Okay.
But I can write down, where's my paper? That I can paste in the homework questions for today and resend. So if you all right. Okay, I think that we got that all taken care of. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I still show that Madeline has her hand raised, but I don't know if that's left over or.
May I ask you what would the name be on your email though? When you send it?
It's chaplaincy@yahoo.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll text it to you though.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, well then, if there's not anything else, then next week we're going to talk about ethics and relational apologetics. And thank you for everybody's participation today.
Thank you.
And I just hope you guys keep warm.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
All right.
Thank you so much. That was a good class. Thank you so much. You have a blessed week, everyone.
All right.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for the
God
good
bless you,
teaching.
everybody.
God bless you. Thanks for the good teaching.
All right. Bye-bye.
A great class.